everyone, and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Tips and Tricks Tuesday, and the question has been asked: what is blending and what is layering? So today we're going to look at the differences between blending and layering, the differences between a wax-based pencil with blending and layering and a oil-based pencil, as well as a progressive combination. So I've got some swatches here. They're empty, and we're going to actually work with these three different sets of pencils here. These are the An Shan. They're a part of my skin tone set that I use. This is the Brute Funer 520s, and these ones here are the Prismacolor. Now I'm not sure. I think the A and Shen are oil-based, but I'm not positive on that. But it's not horribly relevant. So um, the relevance between an oil-based and a wax-based pencil is whether or not you're going to require layering to bring your color up from a base tone. So the first thing we're going to work on is layering. So I've got my Brute Funer 520s here. I've got Barberry and Pink Yarrow and High Risk Red. So the first color we're going to work with is the Pink Yarrow. And we're going to work here, and we're going to throw our pencil down on the floor. I'm going to switch you over to the close-up camera so you can see better of what I'm doing. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually name this one layering. So the first color I have here is Pink Yarrow, and as you can see, I'm using a very light hand, and that color is very, very, very light, and you can see a lot of white spot and everything else under that layer. Now with an oil-based pencil, I can very easily just heavy hand it and cover that entire area. However, if I just put down a few layers on top of each other, I can get the same colorage and still maintain the tooth of that page. So I can continue to add colors to that. Now you can do this with most pencils. However, oil-based pencils do require it because of the way that they color. I can't exactly say why they do that, but I have found that in order to maintain the ability to continue to add color with an oil-based pencil, you have to put down multiple layers of the color to get to the color that you want. As you can see, I've been going over this swatch area quite a bit, quite a few times, back and forth, just filling in that color to the tone that I want it to be. Now that is pretty much the exact tone of the pencil. Now because I've layered it, I can add other colors to it. Now with a oil-based or a wax-based pencil, which is what the hot pink is here, so I'm going to skip a swatch so that we know which ones we're working on. If I put down the same amount of pressure, which is a light pressure, I'm going a little bit quicker than I was before, but not horribly. This pencil is a little bit shorter, so it's a little bit harder to maintain a really light pressure. But as you can see, I'm reaching that color a lot quicker with the wax-based pencil, so it does not require the layering that the oil-based pencil does to get to the color that I want it to be. So as you can see, this one here only took 3 or 4 layers to get to that color. Now, what is the point? If I can get to that color faster with a wax-based pencil, why would I want to use an oil-based pencil? Well, the thing is with an oil-based pencil is when you are layering such as this, where we are going to start blending colors together, you can start with a really light layer and then build your colors from there. Where with a wax-based pencil, you can still build your colors from the lighter layer. However, the tooth of the paper is filled a lot faster with a wax-based pencil than if you were to use a oil-based pencil. So I've put down the pink yarrow. Now I'm going to go in with the barberry, and I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm just going to layer in the next color. Right over top, and as you can see, I'm still using the tooth of the paper. I'm still getting the color, even though there's a lighter color underneath, I'm still getting the color of the barberry showing through. Now say I want to add some red to that. I can definitely still add color to that. And you can see the red coming through over top of the barberry. Now if I was to do this with the wax-based pencil, I'm not going to get as many layers. So I'm not going to get the depth of color that I'm getting with the oil-based pencils. Now, I think the barberry is not quite dark enough. So I'm going to take the barberry and I'm going to go over it again. Well, no, that's high-risk red. I'm going to go over it again with the barberry. So as you can see, I just put in that high-risk red there. But I can take the barberry and I can fill that in and blend that out. Now I'm using a medium pressure here, and then I'm lightening it up as I get down into the red and up into the pink. And then I'm going to take the pink, because I don't think the pink is dark enough now. And as you can see, I'm putting in many layers without any difficulty, and with the color definitely showing through. Now I could go heavier here on the edge and bring that darker color up into the lighter color and eliminate that line a little bit. And then you get a progressional blend. This is one way of blending a color combination, of bringing the light into the medium into the dark by layering the colors on top of each other. Now with a wax-based pencil, so I'm going to do it here, and this is a wax-based pencil, and we're going to layer those colors. And as you already saw from the first swatch, the wax-based pencil does not require the same amount of layering that a oil-based pencil is going to require in order to maintain or to accomplish that coloring. Another thing that the wax-based pencil does that you will notice is it fills in that tooth really quickly. So when you go over it once or twice, your tooth is going to be filled and you're not going to get as deep of a coloring as you do with the oil-based pencil. Now I stopped well before I did with the other one because I know that I wanted to get this red on here. And if I hadn't, the red would not be able to be on there. So now I'm just going to go in with the magenta again, and I'm going to smoosh them together and bring those colors together. If I had have continued, if I had have put the same amount of layers down, I wouldn't have been able to get them to go together. Another thing that you will notice with the oil-based pencils, when you go over top of another color, it does blend together. However, it doesn't overtake the color. So up here when I went over it with the lighter pink, it didn't overtake that color. However, if I go over the magenta with this lighter pink, as you can see, it overtakes that color quite a bit. In order to fix that, of course, I have to go back in with that magenta color. And as you can see, I'm not getting as much movement for that color because I've filled in the pigment, the tooth of the paper with the wax. And once you do that, you can't add more pigment to the paper. Okay, so this is layering, and this is, let's do another example here. So we're going to take the magenta and we're going to, because it's a darker color, you can see the tooth through the paper better. And we're going to count how many times we can go over this before we lose the ability to go over it. So this is the first layer, and I'm just touching the edges. I'm not going over the whole thing. So there's layer number 1. And there's layer number 2. And now, as you can see, I'm starting to lose crumbles off of my pencil. So I think I'm getting close to the end of the ability for layers. So that's layer number 3. This is layer number 4. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get any more on there. So about 4 layers, 4 or 5 layers is all that would take of the wax-based pencil before I started getting crumbles and the basically going over it again would just start lifting up the colors. So now let's start with this one. And I would not be able to get any more color on there like for adding any other colors. So that's layer number 1. This is the bayberry of the 520 brute Venus. So that's layer number 2. That's layer number 3. It's layer number 4. It's layer number 5. And as you can see, I've still got lots of tooth left on the paper under 5 layers where I can add other colors. If I try to add a color to this, like the bayberry, let's say, it doesn't change. It doesn't add any more color. It just scratches off the color that's on there. So let's see. So this is layer number 6. Layer number 7. And we're getting close now to where it's no longer laying down any color. This is layer number 8. But it's still not scraping off the color. It's still laying down pigment and filling in that tooth of the paper. So there's 9. 10. So I can get about 10 or 11 layers on there. Now, as you can see with so there's 11. This is number 12. And I probably could have gotten another 2 layers on there and filled in the last of that tooth. Now I'm just going to give a good once over. So 13 layers, and I get the same results of filling in all of that tooth. Now, if I was to go over with, say, the red here, high risk red, I can still add that color a little bit. Let's go with the pink so that you can see it a little bit better. However, all the tooth of the paper is now gone, so adding that color really doesn't do anything. So that's why we layer, so that we don't fill in the entirety of the paper with one color, so that when we do want to blend, we have that ability with adding a color to a color to a color. And if we just gradually add one to the next, we can get a really good blend with just layering those colors on top of each other and bringing them together. You can do the same thing with an oil-based pencil. However, like I said, it's going to take a lot less pigment to fill in that tooth. And basically all I'm doing is I'm just going over the edge and bringing that color down and filling in the tooth. Now you can also add a third color. You just touch it into the lighter tone and bring it out. So as you can see, I've got 3 different colors all together there, and still am able to add further coloring, even on an area that looks like it's full. I can still add some of that red to it and bring it down. Okay, so that's layering. Layering is building color up from a thin layer and gradually moving it up into a darker color. So for example, let's grab the red here. So I've got high risk red here, and I'm just going to move it down the line here. So this is one layer. Just going to make sure I get all of the box. And then this one here, I'll do 2 layers. And this one I'll do 3 layers. It's sort of like, how do you get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? Yeah, patience and layers. There's 3 layers, and this one's 4. I pushed a little too hard there. So we're at 2. 3. 4. And then this one is 5 layers. And if you keep your layers consistent, you can easily do a progression coloration. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I skipped one. And then this is 6. I pushed too hard. Put too much pressure down for the first layer on that area. Two, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so just going to move my coffee out of the way so you can see. So as you can see, it progressively darkens as we go down the line. And the tooth of the paper progressively fills until we get to the end of the line. So with each layer, you're filling bits of the tooth of the paper. So it takes, 6 or 7, if not more, layers to fill the tooth of the paper with a oil-based pencil. Now we're going to start here with the wax-based pencil, which is the Prisma, and we're going to see how long it takes before we're out of tooth. So I'm using the Scarlet Lake. And like I said, both of these types of pencils can definitely do layering without any problems. It's just how many layers you can get before you're out of tooth. And I've got too much stuff on my desk. So there's one. Now I'm going to start going this way because it's easier on my hand. Make sure I fill in all the area. There's two. There's three. And you can feel it when you're coloring. You can feel when the tooth of the paper is being used up. That's two, three. So that was four, and this one's five. Let's make sure I get into all the crevices. So there's one, two, three, four, so that's five, and it's way more full than this one here. So basically, I could easily get a six one out of this. But if I was to do six, as it is with five, I'm not going to get more than one other layer on there. So adding another color to it, I wouldn't be able to. Just the same as with six, I wouldn't be able to add too many more colors to this. So we'll do six here just so that we can see if it'll take six layers. The Prismacolors are very smooshy. Yes, that's the technical term for it, is smooshy. So it basically fills the tooth of the paper a lot faster and a lot easier than the oil-based pencils. Now for blending, this is a great thing because then you can do a progressive blend with them and not have any troubles. However, for layering blending, you're going to have difficulties getting that smoosh to happen as much with as many layers. So I wasn't able to get a sixth layer on there. It's just lifting off. And that's another thing that I've noticed with Prismas especially, is when you get too much on there. Like I can put a heavy layer, a really, really heavy layer on it, but it's going to start peeling off. So I've got 6 on there by using a heavy hand at the end, but if I'm using the same pressure, um, it just glides right over top. So I can get 6 on if I use a really, really heavy hand and just smash it into there. But if I was using the same pressure all the way along, so this one here is heavy. So if I was to use the same pressure all the way along, I think the only amount that I'm going to be able to get is 5, and I might be able to get another color added, maybe a darker color. But other than that, you know, the amount of pigment that a wax-based pencil fills that tooth of the paper with is not as gradual as an oil-based pencil. Now, that being said, that's layering, is going from the lightest to the darkest with as many layers as necessary. Now, and of course with layering, you can layer colors together as well, and basically what you're doing is you're getting a bit of a blend, moving those colors together. Now, what I mean by blending is when I'm talking about blending, there's different ways that you can do this. You can, of course, blend colors together in a layer and get a good blend or a good progression of color. So we're going to actually do this first with the layers, and then we're going to do it with a blend technique. So this is blending colors together. Now you can also do this with a blending pencil just to make the transition smoother. So I'm putting down a good layer of this first color, which is a light yellowy, creamy, peachy color. And you guys can't see it because the light's too bright, so let's turn that down a little bit. Just going to turn down the brightness a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Let's turn it down just a touch more. Okay, the color isn't going to show exactly the correct color because I've had to turn the brightness down so you can see the color. So I've got a nice light peachy color there. Now I want to bring that down into a darker color, so I'm going to go 3/4 of the way up, and I'm going to add the next color. And this is a medium peachy color. And I'm just going to put in the same amount of layers, 2 layers of that one as well. And you can see the difference between this one and this one. Now I want to add a darker one down here at the bottom. So the bottom third is going to be this darker peachy color. So as you can see very faintly, there's a 1, 2, 3 different colors in that blend. And it's all layered together. Now I can take my lightest color and I can blend those edges. So I'm going to take the next lightest color and blend this darker edge into the lighter edge. So I need number 4, which is this one. I'm just going to blend that in. So basically it ends up looking like it's moving from light, medium, dark down the line. Now you can do that with your lightest color, or if you don't want to add any extra color, you can also do that with your blending stick. And what you do is you just go over top, gently go over top. You don't want to burnish it, you just want to blend it over top of the edge and bring those colors together so that you have a gradual progression. Now, another way that you can do this is by adding your color, and then when you get to a point where you want the next color to start, just very gently, very lightly bring that color down a bit, about halfway into where you want that next color to be. Now, it's not really dark, but it is there. Then you take your next color and you start above where you've brought that color down, and you blend that in into that other color. Now you do the same thing when you get down here, is you draw that down nice and light into the area that you want that next color to be. And it gives that next color the ability to grab hold of that other color and blend it together without the use of a blending tool. It's basically using the pencils to blend themselves. I'm just going to darken this up a little bit here, just so you guys can see the progression. So as you can see, it goes from here to here to here. The first one I brought down a little bit further than I should have, but you can definitely see the movement between the three colors. And that's called a blend technique. So it's blending the end of your other color into your next color. So for example, let's do it this way where you can actually see the colors. So we've got yellow here, and it works really well with the Prismas because the Prismas just mush together really well. Wax pencils, this technique works a lot better with a wax pencil. Now I'm just going to lightly bring this down into that area that I want the next color to be. And then I'm going to take the orange and I'm just going to go right into where that yellow was. And you can do it either which way. You can either do it from light to dark or dark to light. If you do it from dark to light, your light is going to take over your dark color and spread it into your light color, which with this technique is not a big deal, is not a game changer type thing. So you're going to take your light again and you're just going to go into it and blend that out. And basically remove that line. Now if you were using a lighter color against a dark color that you didn't want to be lightened, you would definitely make sure that you put out enough of a connector so that you're not going into your dark color with your lighter color. And as you can see, those two blended perfectly together, so it looks like one cohesive color movement. However, like I said, if you go over the darker with the lighter is going to pick up that color, so make sure you wipe off your pencil. Another one that we can add, if we have enough tooth, is we can go in down here and just add a little bit of red. Feather it up a little bit. And just gently take those two colors and move them together. And like I said, Prismacolors smoosh a lot better than oil-based pencils do. So doing it in this technique does work well for Prismacolors and wax-based pencils. Okay, so the differences between the two, because somebody asked me what was the difference between blending and layering. So the difference between blending and layering is building your color up from start to finish. So this is layering. Layering starts with one layer and moves all the way up until you have the color that you want. Blending is when you take multiple colors and you blend them together. So you can either do this with a layering blend, which is putting down a base layer, adding your next layer, your next lightest layer, and then adding your dark layer. You can also do it vice versa, where you add your light layer, put down your dark layer, and then add your medium layer to blend those two together. Another type of blending is a tip-to-tip blend, where you put down your color, and I'll use the orange because it's bright and you can see it. So basically you put down your color. You've got a good layer of your color that you want here. It's at the color that you want it to be. And then you want the next color to come in. So when you want the next color to come in, you lighten your hand and you feather it down. You bring that down enough that when those two colors join, it's going to mix. So as you can see, it's darker up here, lighter down here. So when I join, I'm going to go up to where this darker area is, and I'm going to blend into that joint. And I'm going to move down from there. Now it's a lot easier to do this from light to dark, because the dark is going to show through the light, but the light isn't going to show through the dark as much. So if I was to go down here, bring this down, and then we'll grab this one here, which is, yeah, we'll do the magenta, might as well. And we go up into that yellow. Down here is going to be our darkest part of our color. And then as we go up into that yellow, it lessens up a bit. And then you can take your yellow and just blend it all together. Now you can do this with a blending pencil, or you can do it with your lightest color that you've used to color with. And basically it just becomes one. So that's a blending layering, a blending technique. So you can definitely get this same type of look by using your blending pencil. However, sometimes in order to get them to blend without a line, it's easier to do it with your pencils. Now, as you saw, I took the dark and I moved it up into the yellow. Now, if you don't want the dark up in your light, make sure that you go from light to dark. I wanted the dark to move up a little bit so that it looked like one whole movement of the color. Same with here, I'm moving that orange down a little bit so it looks like one whole movement of that color. Okay, so that is the difference between blend and a layer. I hope this was helpful. I hope that I answered any questions that everybody had on the difference between blending and layering. The uses for blending and layering, of course, are if you're doing multiple colors in an area between 3 to 6 or 7, depending upon what kind of colors that you're using, depending upon what kind of picture you're painting or coloring, will depend upon whether or not you choose to layer or you choose to blend. Another thing that is going to make that choice for you is whether or not you're using an oil-based pencil or a wax-based pencil. The wax-based pencils, as I said before, are going to take to the blending technique better than an oil-based pencil because of the fact that an oil-based pencil does require layering to blend. So we're going to take a look at the oil-based pencils, and I'm going to do the same orange and yellow. So I've got some oranges and yellows here, and I'll take the red. So we've got high risk red and we've got orange and yellow. So we're going to do the same thing. Sorry, I moved you off of close up too quickly. So we're going to do the same thing as we did here over here, but um, with the oil-based pencils, and you'll be able to see the difference in the progression of the blend. So let's start with the yellow. And I'll do this kind of blend first, and then I'll do a layer blend and show you the difference. So in order to get to that color, I need to put down some layers to get to that color. Then I want to extend it out, feather it out, so that when I bring that other color in, I have something for that other color to mix with. So I'm going into it, into that area that I feathered out, taking that color in, bringing it down. So as you can see, both um, types of pencils can definitely do this, but it does work a little bit better than with I gotta extend that down a little bit more, with the wax-based pencils because they do smoosh together a little bit better. And then we're going to take the red and we're just going to go up into that orange. Now in order to get the vibrancy and everything else with an oil-based pencil, of course you gotta layer it a couple of times. So now I'm going to take that orange again and just make sure that I've got that feather in. Blend those two edges together. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here with the yellow, blend those two edges together. So as you can see, it definitely gives you the same progression. However, you can definitely see the lineage difference between the two. So what I mean by the lineage is on this one here, you can definitely see where that orange line begins. With this one here, it's a little bit fuzzier because that orange blended into that yellow a little bit better. Now I'm going to take the blending pencil because I know I've used the blending pencil on these, and we're going to lessen that line, and we're going to blend that line out a little bit and get that to look a little bit more cohesive and movement a little bit better. And you can definitely do this with a lighter pencil or with a blending pencil, the same way you can with a wax-based pencil. And as you can see, the line has extended quite a bit, but there's still a lot of tooth available. So I could have put down a few more layers of that yellow and brought those together a little bit more than I was able to here with the wax-based pencil because they just joined. So with a tip-to-tip blend like this, of course you can definitely do it with a oil-based pencil, but a wax-based pencil does transition a lot easier than an oil-based pencil. So the other way that you can blend with an oil-based pencil is with the layering technique. And the way that you do your layering technique is you lay down, like I showed you with the other colors. You lay down your color until you have the vibrancy that you want. And you cover that whole square. Cover the whole area with your light base color. And then you come in with your next base color and you cover the whole thing with your next color. You build that color up until it's to the color that you want. And you build that up. Not worried too much about getting it really dark at the bottom because we're going to be putting another color in there. What you're worried about is getting that transition between those two colors nice and smooth. And then we're going to fill in down there a little bit. And then we're going to fill in with the red down here. And it transitions a lot easier and a lot smoother with an oil-based pencil when you do it this way. The one thing that when you're doing either which way, the one thing that you do need to remember is to always feather out. And what I mean by feather out is just very lightly draw that color into the next color, whether it be drawing it down from light to dark or up from dark to light. So then I can take this medium color here, the orange, and I can just combine those lines, make sure that they're all blended out. And then I take the yellow and I do the same thing and blend that orange out a little bit into the yellow. So that you have that transition. And of course, once again, you can take your blending pencil and transition it even smoother and just smooth out the lines. And as you can see with this one here, it's a lot smoother of a transition than with this one here where it's quite choppy. Even after blending, it's still pretty choppy. So this one here with the tip-to-tip technique is a little bit choppier than this one here, but this one here, which is a layering blending technique, is less choppy than this one here. So each different type of pencil is going to have a different blending ability, whether it be a wax-based pencil or an oil-based pencil. The one thing that you will find is your best friend, of course, is a blending pencil, and you don't need a blending pencil. I'm not saying that you have to have one. You can definitely use the pencils that you're using to blend with. However, sometimes you get to a point where you're at the precise moment where you want that color to stay exactly that color. And the blending pencil gives you the ability to blend and burnish, so nothing else is going to be added to that. So as you can see, I've blended this 3 different ways. So I've blended it back and forth, and I've blended it up and down. And I've added that layer of blending pencil. So as you can see, I am not able to get any of this yellow on here because that's no longer has any tooth. It's completely flat. So trying to get another color on there is not going to happen. And that's what happens when you use your blending pencil is it adds that layer of wax, fills in all of the tooth of the page, and finishes it off. It gives it a nice little shine. However, sometimes, like with Prismas, especially if you use the Prisma blender, it will actually lift off any excess wax. So you have to be really careful when using your Prisma blender. Give it a couple of test go-overs. Make sure that it's not lifting off all your color. If it starts lifting off your color, use a different type of blender. Or wipe your blender constantly so that you're not mixing that color into an area that you don't want it to be mixed into. Because as you can see, if I go to use this on something else, I'm going to have orange all over it. So if I go over here, I'm going to transfer that orange off of the blender onto other things. So make sure that you give a couple of scribbles to something, or a good wipe to your end of your blender stick, because this one will do the same thing. However, it's not as bad. But give a good wipe to your blender stick. Make sure that you don't have any color transference. All right, now back over here. So that is the ins and outs of blending and layering. So basically, you can blend and layer at the same time. Basically what you're doing is you're building up color, whether it be one color like we did here, or whether it be 3 colors or 2 colors like we did here and here. You can do a layering technique with both types of pencils, oil or wax. However, it does work a lot better to do a layering blend with an oil-based pencil than with a wax-based pencil. A wax-based pencil does work better with a blend technique where you're taking one color, feathering it out, and bringing another color into it instead of going over top of another color. All right, guys. Well, thank you all very much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that I haven't confused everybody. The main thing that you need to remember, of course, is layering is building color from one layer up to the color that you want it to be. The layering blending technique is where you layer one color on top of another color until they're blended into a transitional coloring that you would want it to be. The blend technique is where you blend one color into another color by feathering those colors together and joining them in unison, so that when they are together, they're you don't have a heavy seam showing where one color is and one color isn't. That technique does work a lot better with a wax-based pencil. The layering technique does work a lot better with an oil-based pencil. You can definitely layer with both types of pencil. So you can definitely start with one and end up with, multiple layers of one color with a wax-based pencil. The one thing that you're going to watch for as you layer is how much of your tooth is left. So if you want to transition different colors into what you're coloring, you're going to want some tooth left of your page. For example, the page that I'm coloring right now, um, let's see here. I've finished up these roses here, and as you can see, their color is much darker, much brighter than these ones here, which I haven't finished building the color up on. So in order to finish these, I'm going to need to build that pink color up to maintain the same cohesion throughout the roses. So that's what layering means, is when you're building the color up to meet the colors that you want them to be. I started with a very light layer of the light pink. I added the magenta and the red, and now I need to go back over it with another layer of the light pink to bring that color up to the same color as these other three. In the processes of doing that, I'm also blending all three of those colors together to create the illusion of shadows and depth in the roses. I hope that was helpful. All right, guys, of course, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions tomorrow, I will be live during our Work in Progress Wednesday. And we can definitely ask me any questions during that time, and I can do my best to help you out in understanding what's going on and what I can do to help. Blech. Words are hard. Ask me any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. How's that? Um, if you want to join us over on Facebook, you can definitely do so by filling out the application form. The link is in the description below the video. What else was I going to tell you? Oh, don't forget, next Friday. Well, this coming Friday. Oh my goodness, is it really? Let me check. Nope, next Friday. I was going to say, my goodness, that's really close. But next Friday on the 30th, we have Julia in July, hashtag, and we are having a color-a-thon. The information is in the community page of the site here. And there's a link that will take you to the schedule for all of the YouTubers that are participating. So please make sure that you check out that link. Please make sure that you ring the bells of all of those YouTubers that you have the availability to watch. And make sure that you hang out and chat and just have some fun with us, because this is going to be a blast. If you want to support the channel, of course, hit the like button, leave me a comment, and of course, if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. I do put out a new video every day except for Sundays, and Wednesday and Saturday I am live. My Wednesday schedule has changed slightly to be at 3 o'clock instead of 3:30, so that I'm not streaming over top of somebody else. Other than that, guys, of course, remember to always, always relax, color, and stay safe. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. Until tomorrow, bye-bye for now.